Individualism. The miracle of the West, the beauty of the world, the paragon of animals. And yet, to me, what is this quintessence of nattering dust? Its only contribution, along with religions that justify it, the religions that justify it, and the banking system that fences its funds, unfortunately, does not like to be alone. Individualism. If it did, if its acolytes and adherents were Diogenes, we could watch them thunder away like the WWE. That'd be fun. But they get lonely and they make up clubs, church groups, gods that demand passwords and swearings of allegiance, scholastic communities. What are they called? Colleges, fraternities, sororities, where they don't actually communicate among themselves, which would be unindividualistic. They invite speakers or preachers and gaze upon them and hear them rather than turn and look at each other. It's sad. And when the sadness grips them, they will buy guns and take it out on us, collective rustics, demanding obedience, which if we fail to show, there will be killing. There might be genocide. The pity for, compassion for those less fortunate is code in individualism, a show of humanness. Today I heard the reiteration of a common theme. The poor working class are trapped in mind-numbing work environments like that oppress them. Okay. Have you ever worked in a factory, Brianna Joy Gray? I have. And an office. There is little to choose between them, and if I were forced to choose, I would choose the factory. The talking classes are individualistic. My opinion is this: the corporate speakers, the academics, talking hard and fast, ensure that I and themselves believe they are doing the higher work of humanity. They protest an awful lot. The great fear and condemnation that free individualistic Americans have of unions is the suspicion that they are not hierarchical and they might be rather fun. They are not fraught with egotism. They may be, but we don't know, do we? They fear them because they oppose management, the asylum of individualism, but more because they might be egalitarian. They might close doors and have discussions that individualists are foreign to. After all, they call each other brother and sister and comrades. Individualists might sneer to cover their envy here. I would add that unionists should grasp their advantage, conceive their higher motives of communication, and be easy with it. My factory time in London in the mid-70s, early 70s, was Jack Rose Shoes in Stamford Hill, London. I worked in the packing department. I was 18. It was just me and the head of department. We were in a room off the main open plan room where the shoes were glued together. My boss was a sallow chap. He wore a shirt and tie and seemed mostly unhappy, very uncommunicative white chap. The other side of the door was noisy and raucous. The machines made a racket and required concentration, so men and women bent to their tasks. I think it was about 50-50, men and women. There was a strong smell of shoe glue. The union was very strong in this room. Our shop steward was a strong man in his 50s and very simple. He was sort of the village idiot that the village loved, a characteristic of villages and their idiots. He wore a leather apron and had a genius with the machines. At noon, the machines hissed and went silent. In noisy rooms, you shout, which is indiscreet and good for us non-monastics. The room was run by two remarkable women, Breda and Alison. We men were all in love with them. Alison was a Cockney married to a Jamaican and lived nearby the factory and always asked me to the house parties that seemed to be every weekend. I didn't go, being young and reclusive already, but we had an intense flirtation otherwise. Breda was Irish and a queen of the place. For my curious self, she was a mine of information, an expert of the Troubles, a Sinatra fan. She lived in the wilds of Walthamstow with her husband and a couple of boys. They had me out to do some gardening and have dinners. Husband worked at the Whipps Cross Hospital, an engineer and union, tremendous, open, generous people who were perhaps 40. At the factory, there was very little sitting. There were unionized tea breaks, and the workers ran the workplace. Unlike the corporate offices I have been in, where hierarchy is strictly observed, fear is abundant, fun is meaningless, and frustration is almost as abundant as fear of not being liked. I don't know enough about academia or media organizations, but the preoccupations expressed by its employed do not make me think of fun, except alcoholic. Large groups of people engaged in collective tasks, fields sown and harvested, sheep herded and sheared, cars made, ships built, bridges constructed, skyscrapers put up, are suspected by individualists. The people who work collectively operate under very different rules and gain their satisfaction and prides in ways writers of books would be hard-pressed to grasp. The moment they begin to imagine, they will judge. Before my shoe factory, I worked as a cleaner at the British Museum. Not jobs in which one thought of a future, but I never thought of a future. I wish I had done some farm work. There were opportunities in England, hop picking for the summer. Students went off in droves on their summer holidays, co-ed with all that fun. I worked in catering between jobs in the US, hard work, good hard teamwork. A project every day. We arrived, we put up, we served, we took down, we went back to HQ, unloaded and washed and cleaned, then went home. We came, saw and conquered. Long days full of chatter and food, friendships and feuds. Glorious, no future, but you see, I would add that each of these jobs paid my way. My way was very simple and low, but they provided for it. It was England in the 70s. So much was free. Dentists and the odd doctor visit, free. If one did go to college, free. Buses, dead cheap. 'Tis gone, 'tis gone. Cue America in the early 90s and fat white guys on TV laughing at socialisms the world over, having never lived in one, living in the land of individualism, who had their day for the days of 30 years, and now we have today. Ouch. And certainly the English look back in tears on the pre-Thatcher socialism when people worked like I did and could live like I did. I suggested one of the major reasons that past made this present was a jealousy the individualists had for this invisible working collective, that they were getting away with, that we were getting away with something, that we were happy like Breda and Alison, who lived with no notion of making it. So began the union breaking and the selling of council houses and defunding the national health, austerity, and Rory Stewart condescendingly accusing Gary Stevenson of class anger, then insisting, "I walked across Afghanistan, I know what's going on and how we should fix things, but no one listens to me, and I have no upper class anger. Anger is only for the lower orders. Moi? No, I'm not angry. Perish the thought," end quote.